Hey guys, and welcome back to Disgustingly Easy, the podcast for the long game. So, whilst I was incredibly tempted to record a whole episode on my current special interest, which, in case you missed it, is the TV show Heated Rivalry, and you guys have no idea the levels of restraint that go into me not talking about my special interest when the fixation is as strong as it is now. I needed to drop in with today's training because this is something that I'm seeing again and again and again and again when women, particularly neurodivergent women, mothers, business owners, are trying to move either back into or move into the fitness space for the first time. And as I said, I want you to consider this a training, a workshop of sorts. This is not a pep talk. It is not a mindset rant. This is a recalibration. And in this episode, I'm going to show you the exact formula that we use inside of the long game to support our members to expand their capacity without burning out, without spiraling, and without chasing hype. Because without fail, I have about 5 conversations every single week where women are telling me that they know they need to get back into their health and fitness practices. They know they need to step up and they want to step up. They know the logistical barriers and they're willing to overcome them. They understand the science behind why they need to strength train and they want to participate. They're not even that focused on getting skinny, or so they think. More on that as we get into it. But what happens time and time again is that we go down this path of having the conversation about long game, about joining, about re-engaging with health and fitness. And then they say this. You ready? Because it always starts with a big sigh. I just don't think I have the capacity right now, Bec. And I want to pull that apart really carefully because on the surface, I can see how this makes sense. It might even feel like a sensible decision to not engage because you feel like you've got too much going on. But here's what you're missing amongst the stress and the chaos and the endless to-do lists and the shopping and the pickup and the drop-off and the meltdowns and your own mental health and trying to have a relationship or trying to find a fucking moment to breathe at some point in your day is that implementing a health and fitness practice shouldn't drain your capacity. It should expand it. And the reason most women think that they don't have capacity is not because they're incapable. It's not because they've got too much on or they can't get their shit together. It's because the way we've been taught to train or what you think you need to do is built on outdated, capitalist-driven, patriarchal, unreferenced, biased bullshit. Everything about the traditional fitness approaches that most women adhere to, everything that we've grown up thinking is normal, is built on a model that drives stress. And I'm here today to show you a completely different way of doing things. First and foremost, if you haven't already learnt from listening, we need to acknowledge that what you've done in the past or the fitness culture you've followed leading up to your long game journey or following me on Instagram is probably outdated. In the past, we might have subscribed to or followed programs where workouts prioritized high intensity. And if you weren't doing that, you weren't putting in enough effort. Or 20-something-year-old fitness influencers who don't have kids who are telling you that you need to train 4 to 5 times a week for it to be worth it, else you're lazy. You might have followed advice that makes you feel like your whole life needs to change overnight and that you need to implement things like a 15-step routine starting at 5 a.m. tomorrow and you need to implement that till the day you die. Or maybe the only way for you to be worthy is for you to go maximum effort, minimum rest, or maybe even just having a belief that what matters most is how fast you can change, not how sustainably you can do so. This is not fitness science. And from this point now until the day you die, I need you to understand that this is marketing psychology. It is urgency disguised as progress. So, of course, when I come along and I say that absolutely anyone at any point in life with any lifestyle or any family situation can come along to something like the long game and it will only expand your capacity, of course you're calling my bluff. Of course you don't believe me. But this is because everything you've ever learned about making meaningful change in your health and fitness is driven by a more is better approach. And right now, you don't have any more to give. Because let's talk about what actually happens here. When you look at these programs that are like train 6 days a week, track everything, overhaul your entire pantry, wake up at sparrow's fart and become a new woman by Monday, things like the 75 hard, your 6-week shred, your new year, new me reset, your body doesn't go, oh my God, yes, queen, this is so exciting. It goes, okay, that feels like a lot. And here's another layer that people don't talk about in these spaces. These programs are built for the dopamine spike. The marketing is built for the dopamine spike. They are exciting by design. Big declarations, big rules, big before and after, big identity change. Add in a hit of this time I'm doing it properly. There's adrenaline. There's that electric feeling, which people think is motivation, but it is more akin to momentum or activation. And that dopamine loves novelty. It loves dramatic commitment. It loves the clean slate fantasy. So for the first few days, you feel so fucking powerful. But dopamine spikes are not a sustainable energy source. They're like fireworks, bright, loud, and over quickly. And when the novelty wears off, which it always does, you're left with the same volume of workload, but without the chemical high. Now it doesn't feel exciting. It feels heavy. And that's the part where your nervous system goes, oh my God, this is not sustainable, because it wasn't built on a rhythm. It wasn't built on a habit stack. It wasn't a slow grow into a sustainable weekly plan. It was built on hype. So you swing from dopamine high to cortisol spike, from motivation to guilt, from I'm a new woman to why can't I keep this up? And you make it mean that you lack discipline. And whilst you think you're chasing results, what you've actually been chasing the whole time is stimulation. Capacity, real capacity, grows from that rhythm. Dopamine spike comes from novelty. When you follow the old patterns, of course you fall flat and say, see, I can't do this. But what's really happening is your body is just reacting to the chaos. You don't lack capacity, you lack a regulated approach. Your nervous system isn't sabotaging you. You're not broken. It's actually protecting you from something it thinks is unstable or unsafe. And if your entire fitness history has been built on chasing that hit of starting something hard, announcing it publicly, doing something extreme, of course, a steady habit-led change feels underwhelming at first. Of course, what I'm saying to you feels boring as fuck. Of course, you feel like it won't be worth it. You're not following your old predictable strategy. It doesn't spike you. But if you let it, what it does is stabilize you. And that can feel boring, but boring is sustainable. Boring is metabolically supportive, and boring is nervous system safe. And safe is where capacity grows. And this is how results happen. And let's zoom out for a second, because this didn't just happen by accident, right? There's a reason fitness is sold the way it's sold. Patriarchy has never exactly been in the business of women feeling powerful, strong, grounded in themselves. It has been much, much happier when we're super distracted by whether or not our thighs touch, whether or not we have hip dips, or how much our arms jiggle when we run. We've been taught subtly and not so subtly that smaller is better, quieter is safe, less is more, strength is intimidating, taking up space means you're a bit much. So when weight loss gets packaged up as the thing that will finally make you happy, confident, worthy, we can acknowledge that that is cultural conditioning. And then capitalism does its bit. It turns your insecurity into a product. You don't feel good enough? Here's a plan. That plan didn't work fast enough. Here's a better, harder plan. You didn't sustain it. Must be your discipline. Try again. Didn't work out. Must be your fault. Try again. Quick fixes. 8-week shreds. High intensity blitzes. New method, new guru, new this time it'll definitely work. Why? Because the most profitable customer is the one who starts strong, makes a lot of noise, burns out, quits, internalizes the result as her fault, and then buys again. That loop is really profitable. You calmly building strength 1 to 2 times a week for the next decade, That is not dramatic enough to sell. So if you feel like you spent your whole life on a hamster wheel of never being good enough, never committing enough, never being disciplined enough, I want to subtly and gently suggest, maybe let me hold your hand as I tell you this. You've been operating inside of a system that rewards urgency and punishes steadiness, and never, ever wanted you to be successful. Ever. They never wanted you to feel like you were enough. Ever. And they were designed that way. And you have my full permission to opt out of that today. So before I give you anything practical, before I hand you this framework, before I map it out step by step, we need to have a very honest moment, because if you don't clean this up, none of this structure is going to stick. We need to have a look at what is actually fueling your desire to change right now. Is it strength? Is it hustle? Is it long-term health? Or is it needing to look like you're doing something? Is it curiosity? Or is it panic about how you currently look? Is it expansion? Or is it trying to escape the current version of yourself as quickly as humanly possible? Because I say this with a lot of respect, because I've been here too. A huge chunk of women's motivation is driven by not enoughness, not lean enough, not disciplined enough, not trying hard enough, not progressing fast enough. And underneath that is a belief that says, if I can just change this as quickly as possible, then I'll finally feel okay. And that energy, that motivation is unstable because it's built on urgency, and urgency always comes with pressure. And if your fitness plan is built on escaping yourself, it will always collapse. Not because you're lazy, but because escape requires adrenaline. Adrenaline burns hot and fast. And as we've already spoken about, this burns you out. So if you want to break the cycle, before I even go into the framework, you have to tolerate being deeply uncomfortable. And it won't be forever. It won't even be for that long. But you need to stay roughly where you're at for a bit. No collapsing, no spiraling, no segueing into some 30-day shred challenge. Just staying, making slow changes, letting your body acclimatize instead of shocking it, letting habits settle instead of trying to stack 20 things on at once, letting your identity catch up instead of trying to leapfrog over it into the results. You're going to have to feel the discomfort of not changing fast. You're going to have to sit in the space where it doesn't look impressive yet. You're going to have to build quietly. And when you've been conditioned to believe that speed equals success, that quiet build can feel quietly terrifying, because it feels like you're not doing enough. But this is how capacity expands, not explosively, but gradually, deliberately, with presence. You build tolerance first, then resilience, then strength. Don't skip the steps. And if you're willing to sit through the discomfort, now we can actually talk about what to do next. So now that we've called out the system and we've acknowledged that maybe urgency has been running the show, we can finally talk about how to build this properly. Let's bring it back to you, because I need you to understand something very clearly. When you say, I don't have capacity right now, what I hear underneath all of that, based off everything we've just spoken about, is I don't have capacity for the version of fitness I think I need to do to get the results I think I want in the time frame that I expect. Go back and listen to that again if you need to. Rewind the last 15 seconds, because just like you, even I don't have capacity for 5 sessions in the gym a week. I don't have capacity to track every single piece of food that passes through my lips. I don't have capacity to cut carbs. Never. Never, ever even talk to me about cutting carbs. I don't have capacity to be sore all the time. I don't have capacity to be obsessed with fixing myself or changing my entire routine overnight. It is fair to think that that would drain you. But here's what matters. That is not the only way of doing things. And that is where we move into what we actually do inside of the long game. Because I'm about to give you the exact formula we use in the long game to expand capacity beyond what you thought was possible, to avoid burnout and still get results while making it disgustingly easy. This isn't some mysterious secret sauce, and I don't want to guard it behind a paywall. This is the full proof focus formula that we use inside of long game. And take note of the order, because the order matters. If you skip steps, you will keep yo-yoing. Not because you're broken, not because you lack discipline, but because you skipped the foundations and let your ego or the quick fix itch run the show. There are 3 phases inside the no fail focus formula: habit, confidence, strength. You move through them sequentially. There is an order, but there is not a hierarchy. One is not better than the other. One is not more advanced in a moral sense. You will move up and you'll move down between them across seasons of life. You might be in a strengths focus for 8 weeks, then drop back into a habit focus during school holidays, illness, stress, big life shifts. That's not a regression. That is intelligent, responsible, egoless self-management. And here's the key part. You will technically be working on all 3 concepts at all times: habits, confidence, strength. But the focus that you choose determines where your energy goes and how you measure success. And this is where most people trip themselves up, because if you're in a habit phase, measuring success by aesthetic results that only come in a strengths focus, you will always feel like you're failing. Your focus determines your metrics, and your metrics determine whether you think you're successful. So if you're listening to that and thinking, okay, cool, but like, what do I actually do? Here it is. When kicking off with the no fail focus formula, I need you to anchor into a habit-led process first. Not results-led. Habit-led means your only focus in this phase is showing up, ticking off whether or not you did something that you said you would do. Your focus is stacking behaviors, and your focus is on the process. Your success metric becomes, did I execute the plan that I said I would execute? Not, did my body change yet? Not, have I dropped a dress size? Not, when am I going to lose 5 kilos? That is not the job of this phase. The job of this phase is behavioral stabilization. And until that is stable, until the habit is locked in, nothing else matters. The results that you're after, they are a lag indicator. They reflect repeated behavior over time, not single efforts. Body composition, strength, energy, all respond to consistent inputs. But if the behavior that drives those results is inconsistent, the outcome will be inconsistent. Stabilize the habit first, and the results will follow, but they take time. Most women I speak to get caught up because they're trying to measure the lag before they've built the base. You don't build capacity by chasing change. You build capacity by creating repeatable stability. It's literally the opposite. Boring, predictable, tick the box, do it again. This is where you'll hear me say to our members, I want you to just tick off that you went to the gym. I don't give a fuck what you do when you get there. Watch Heated Rivalry on the treadmill and walk for 40 minutes for all I care. Just tick off that you went. This is how you create a calm and nervous system safe entry into a workout program. This is where you focus on the process and let the results become an inevitable byproduct of the process. And I promise you, if you cannot stay in this phase without getting so itchy that you want to add in more, without pushing for faster results, without needing it to count on the outside before you've locked it in on the inside, you will keep burning out. When you can tolerate building quietly without external proof, your capacity starts to expand almost without you noticing. Once your habits are stable, and that's not perfect, that's not transformative, just stable, that's when you can step into the next phase, which is the confidence building phase. In the confidence phase, your success is no longer measured by, did I show up? It becomes, did I apply the skill correctly? Did I execute with intent? Did I understand what I was doing and why? Did I increase the load, refine the technique, or experiment within the structure safely? That is the metric now. In our confidence phase, this is not about hype or hustle, but it's about the literal skill-based confidence. Because now you know you can reliably show up. You've proven that in the habits phase. You know you can stick to the plan. Now the behavior is predictable. And when the behavior is predictable, you can start to experiment. This is where you begin to get really good at the what. In training, that might mean understanding progressive overload, lifting heavier intentionally, refining technique, learning how to use a barbell or dumbbells, or trying your first gym program. This is about learning how to test your capacity safely and becoming confident in the application of the fitness programming. Outside the gym, this might look like being able to adjust your nutrition without panicking, or eating more to support your performance instead of automatically restricting after you eat something off plan. It might mean shifting your training days around your cycle instead of quitting entirely because you feel like you've lost motivation. You're no longer following instructions. Here you are learning, applying, and understanding principles. You're not just complying anymore, you're developing the competence to make informed decisions for yourself. And competence is where confidence lives, not in intensity, in mastery. When you skip this stage, when you rush straight past it because you want a faster result, this is where injury creeps in. This is where you push too hard too soon, you misjudge volume, you misjudge recovery or load. This is where you don't actually understand what you're doing and you move too fast into a strength phase and you're just performing effort and you will get zero results. Performing without skill always has a ceiling. When you stay here, when you can actually spend time building competence, building confidence, your capacity will expand in a very real physiological way. Your tolerance for load increases. Your ability to adapt improves. Your decision-making gets better, sharper, and more informed. And when you do move into either a body recomp phase or a strength focus, you're not starting from scratch. You've built the base, and that's when the results accelerate, not because you've rushed, but because you were ready. And then, and only then, once the habits and the confidence are locked in, do I allow clients to step into a strengths focus where results, the actual results you're getting, start to be included in the data. The results don't reflect their identity, results don't reflect their worth, it's just data. But when you're in this phase, your success metric shifts again. You're no longer measuring, did I show up? You're no longer measuring, did I apply the skill well? Now you're measuring, did the load increase? Did performance improve? Did my body composition shift in line with the plan? If you're in a deficit, is it working? Did I adhere to the structure of the phase? The metric matches the focus. And this is where body composition changes can happen sustainably because you actually know what the fuck you're doing. This is where performance improves again because you actually know what the fuck you're doing. This is where you can choose to pursue aesthetic changes if you want, but now you're doing it from stability, from education, not from panic, not from nervous system overload. You're not braced for impact. Your habits are stable. Your confidence is solid. You're not chasing enoughness. And this is the part most women never even get to because they try to start here. They want visible changes immediately. They want proof it works immediately. They want to feel like it's worth it immediately. And when that doesn't happen in 2 weeks, they panic. And when you panic, you knee jerk back to intensity. And when you go back to intensity, you burn out. And this is why you don't think you have capacity for a strength or fitness program. But when you actually follow the formula and when you actually do it in order, when you respect the sequencing instead of trying to hack it, it does something way bigger than just get you results. It functions like a map. Yes, you follow it and holy fucking shitballs, Susan, you arrive at your destination, not in 2 weeks, maybe not even in 1 year, but also not in a panic and not burnt the fuck out. You actually get where you're trying to go. And in the process, it reshapes so much more than your body. It reshapes your relationship with your body. You stop seeing your body as a problem to fix and start seeing it as something to build. It reshapes your relationship with self-trust because you've done what you said you would do over and over again. And you could do what you said you would do because you set yourself up in a really sustainable way. It shows you the level of strength physically and physiologically and emotionally that you probably haven't imagined for yourself before. And of course, it reshapes your understanding of your actual capacity because you realize capacity wasn't the issue. Regulation, education, and understanding was. And here's the plot twist. By the time you get to the strengths focus, there is a very high chance that your goals have completely changed. Because when you stop chasing urgency and you start building competence, what you want shifts. It's about shrinking. It's more about expanding. It's less about escaping yourself. And it's more about becoming the kind of woman that you've only ever imagined that you could be. And this is why long game has been such a powerful place for so many women. This is why you read through our Google reviews and they don't say, smashed myself for 8 weeks, or I lost 15 kilos in 3 months, or I lost X amount of centimeters in some ungodly time frame. No, they say things like, I finally trust myself again. I don't want to miss workouts because I feel calm and grounded afterwards. I broke the pattern of going hard and fizzing out. Long game flexes with my real life. I built habits that stick. I released binge eating habits I'd had for nearly 20 years. I untangled years of criticism and learned compassion. I feel seen. I feel supported. I strength train now for the first time in my life, and I'm running a half marathon for fun. Do you hear the difference? These women are not talking about punishment. They are not talking about hype. They are not talking about adrenaline. They are talking about stability. They are talking about self-trust. They are talking about the patriarchy being called out instead of internalized. They are talking about a program that works with their neurodivergence, not against it. They're talking about consistency after decades off, about walking into the gym for the first time in their lives and wanting to go back, about body neutrality taking hold, about finally building something that doesn't collapse. This is not a hack, and we've got to let go of looking for the fucking hack. When we're talking about capacity, it's falling in love with who you can become in the process. That is what expands you. That is capacity. That is rhythm. That is nervous system safety and identity change. And yes, for some of them, it's led to a 20-kilo weight loss. For others, it's lifting weights for the first time and feeling more powerful than they've ever felt. For others, it's running again, but the result is never the headline. The foundation is. Because once the foundation is stable, nothing will ever rock you again. Results don't feel like an unyielding negotiation, a back and forth, a yo-yo. They feel like a byproduct of a system that feels supportive, that you understand and that you know how to engage with. That is the difference. That is the long game difference. And this right here is exactly why in March, I am trying something new. After a year or over a year, 18 months of sticking it out with the long game, I have something new for all the women who've been telling me over and over again in my DMs, they just don't have capacity. This is where the capacity reset room comes in. And I want to be really clear about what this is and what this is not. It's not an accelerator. It's not a shred. It's not a prove yourself season. It's not a hard. It's not a 30-day blitz. It's not built on hype. It's built on regulation. It is a contained space designed specifically for those who genuinely believe they don't have capacity to join long game and need to build it, not fake it. Because you don't build capacity by adding more. You build it by removing the chaos, removing the drama, removing the misinformation and the conditioning. Inside the capacity reset room, we are going to slow everything down. We're going to stabilize behaviors. We're going to strip everything back to the habit foundations. We rebuild rhythm. We calm the nervous system. We reestablish trust with ourselves. No dopamine chasing, no aesthetic panic, no all or nothing identity flips, just structure, sequencing, doing things in the right order. It's the first step for women who are done surviving the chaos and really ready for sustainable habit-led results. Because when regulation comes first, capacity follows. And I can show you example after example of how we've made that happen in the long game. But if that feels like too much of a stretch, the capacity reset room starts on the 16th of March. It's going to be 8 weeks long, high proximity, direct messaging access in a group with me. We do not launch straight into workouts or any dramatic overhaul. We build the foundations before we layer anything on top. There are only 10 spaces because this needs to stay contained, small, and intentional. If you've been hovering on the edge of the long game, watching, listening, thinking, I want that, but I just don't know if I have capacity right now, this is your entry point. Not to prove yourself, not to go harder, to recalibrate. Come across to my DMs and I'll tell you exactly how it works, what it looks like, and how we expand you properly without burning you out or adding more to your plate. All you have to do is DM me the word reset. You don't need more willpower. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to be better. You just need the right structure, the right sequence, the right steps, and the right support. And this is it. As always, thank you so much for being here. If you're in the long game, bring this conversation across to the forum and let's have a chat about capacity. But if you're not in the long game and you'd like to join, make sure you follow the instructions I've given you and DM me the word reset. When nothing is certain, anything is possible. You've got this, and I've got you.